Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crossing Borders. I'm Mike Ginn. That's Extremo Alex Soto, back from Monterrey, Mexico. LUX Fight League 28. We'll talk all about that. We'll also mention Combate. They had an event in Miami this weekend as well. But first, you already know what it is. Take a moment, go over to fightersfirst.shop. Check out all the officially licensed collections, including the Extremo Alex Soto collection, Jose Shorty Torres, as well as a number of other MMA fighters and professional wrestlers. Check it all out. Fightersfirst.shop. Let our apparel be a part of your story. But Alex, fresh back from Monterrey, how was LUX Fight League 28? How was your trip?
Man, it was awesome, dude. I had a great fight card, but the trip was awful, man. Coming back, I don't know if I told you this, but I got stuck at airport for forever, man. I didn't get back till Sunday at 3 a.m. And it was god awful, man. Kept getting delayed. And then so I had to find an Uber drive at 4 a.m. here in San Diego to take me to my car. And it was just a mess. But other than that, dude, the fight card was rad, man. Did you get the opportunity to watch it?
Funny thing is take two of this, because Alex actually told me this story before and we had technical difficulties. He actually gave more details this time, so you got the whole Uber driver story this time that you didn't get when the stream froze and we had to redo this. But yes, I did watch it. We'll talk about it in just a second. I do want to actually switch gears from what we were originally going to do and say Combate real quick before we get into LUX Fight League 28. But the funny thing is, Alex, I didn't watch you.
You son of a bitch.
I found out that I could watch the Deportes feed for free.
Nice.
So right here, we got Fox Deportes right here in Tampa. So instead of watching Alex and paying for Fight Pass, I just watched Fox Deportes and watched the whole show with Henry.
The whole show?
Yeah, with him. Well, I watched the main card. I didn't watch the Challenger Series, but gotcha. I did go back and see some highlights of that on YouTube and stuff like that. But I just watched Henry Briones and those guys talk about the show for a few hours. I saw you and Francisco in the background occasionally with your nice little sharp blue suit on and everything.
That's hilarious.
But I saw you guys like as the cage would like circle around, but that's all I saw of you. But before we get into LUX Fight League 28, I do want to mention there was another fight card last weekend. We do cover all of Latin American fights. So Combate from Miami last weekend, they had the ladies in charge as well. Marita Sanchez got the win over Dee Begley, the veteran fighter, as well as we saw Christian Perez get the choke out over Gilbert Ordonez. We saw Bora Roquez get the win with a TKO over Bruno. Palomino got the submission over Velasco. And then the only one that went to a decision, Natalie Schlesinger, got the win over Reyes. Of course, Combate Global, mostly out of Miami nowadays, but still featuring a lot of Latin American fighters. So always check them out. Oh, yeah. But you're here to talk about LUX Fight League, here to talk about LUX 28. And I got two questions for you before we start talking about this card that I should have talked about the first time we lost our feed. One, do you think it kind of slows everything down when the ring announcer says everything in Spanish and then everything in English? We know it's a Latin American card. We know it's a Mexican fight card. Yeah. Why put it in English?
I think because the number one the audience is the well, I mean, we're talking about the main event, right? It's being on UFC Fight Pass and other networks as well. So I think the English language and the English speaking Latin American, such as yourself, would appreciate the actual calling of it.
For the record, I only had to turn to my wife and ask her what they were saying like twice the whole show. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, see, it was catering for you. We're trying to make it life easy for you, man.
Well, he does do that. He the ring announcer, like literally every fight, will sit there and say both in Spanish and English, and I thought that was funny. He does a fantastic job, but I think it's like I just feel like he has so much to say because he's like going all the way in Spanish and then all the way in English, and I'm just like, why was one version shorter than the other?
I always feel like Felipe de Maria doesn't get a lot of attention for that, man. But that guy has gone freaking to the next level, dude. That guy's super fun to watch.
He's fantastic. He's
doing a great job.
But let's talk about LUX Fight League 28. Alex, we got two brand new champions. We had the return of Diego Lopes. We had some fantastic fights to get into. We're going to start right in the main event. Eli Rodriguez knocks off Victoria Alba in her first title defense in her hometown. What you think about all that?
All right, man. So we had Victoria Alba versus Elio Rodriguez, and I was wrong on this one, man. I don't know if you remember, but I called it, and I thought Victoria Alba was going to win. I thought she had more tools in this fight than Elio Rodriguez did. So Ellie looked fantastic that night. Well, let me take it back a little bit. I was going to say that Ellie was going to come in with her striking game, right? And that's kind of like her go-to move, is just to stay in the pocket. Great combinations, move and stick and jab and move. And Victoria Alba was going to able to take her down with the push kicks and, with the kicks. And I thought she was going to do much better with that. However, man, Victoria Alba was doing that. She was
I was about to say, that's pretty much exactly what happened. And especially that jab down the middle, which busted up in Ellie's nose.
Yeah, I mean, Victoria Alba was on her bicycle. She was doing great. And then there was a moment where she just went to go and throw that kick. And
they both threw kicks.
They both threw kicks. Alba just kind of, overextended. So she had kind of a 180 turn twist, lands on her butt, tries to get up. And then Ellie Rodriguez, which, one of the things, she's from Guadalajara, Mexico. She trains out of those guys. And if you look at, she actually went down to train with the Brazilian Warriors. So
I was about to say time out, because Diego and Costa were in her corner.
Yeah, the Aztec Gold guys that have run off with Cuauhtemoc Gold, those guys were in the corner, and I thought, oh my God, of course. So Ellie came in, jumped the back so fast, beat Alba on the way up, and just grabbed her back, submitted, or didn't get the submission, but you can just see a complete domination on the ground. From talking to Alba after the fight, if you look at it, I mean, she looks like she just tapped to punches, and I always get like discouraged. I remember my first jiu-jitsu instructor was my staff sergeant, or E5 sergeant, when I was in the Army, and he was beating me up, giving me my first jiu-jitsu lesson, and I would tap, and he goes, "You don't tap to punches." And ever since then, I was like, yeah, you're right. You don't tap to punches. That's just a bitch mood, So I'm watching Alba. She's getting punched, she's getting punched, and she's tapping her punches. And I'm like, oh man, you don't tap to punches,
especially as a champion.
Especially when you're a champ, right? And what afterwards, we're talking to her. She basically got punched right in the eyeball. And she felt that, she thought her eye fell out, and so she was freaking out because of that. And I do remember getting elbowed in a fight once, and the elbow landed right on my eyeball, and I remember actually reaching out to try to grab my eyeball because I thought it had fallen off. But it's just a terrible feeling, man. But man, it was it, and that called it, man. And I was just like, holy crap, man. Elio Rodriguez really came back from behind, won the fight.
Like you said, awesome. She was training with the Brazilian Warriors, so she had Alessandra Costa, she had Diego Lopes. Diego, even after his fight, came back out to be in her corner. When I saw that, I was like, this might not be the striking affair that we think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then, sure enough, look, give Alba credit. She was piecing her up on the feet. She was getting the advantage. The jab was doing its job. It busted Ellie open. If you look at the screenshots from the picture from the fight, Ellie's got blood all over her. That's her blood. That's her own blood. But once it went to the ground, after they both kind of went for the kick and knocked each other down, kind of, or fell off balance, it was all Ellie Rodriguez. And Elizabeth Rodriguez jumped on her, took her back, flattened her out, eventually just started doing ground and pound. And then, Alba tapped out to strikes. I'm kind of confused. They called it a submission. I haven't seen it overturned yet, but I'm sorry, they called it a TKO. But it shouldn't have been a submission because she tapped out. Yeah,
you're right. It's a submission. Submission due to punches.
I heard Luke's Fight League called it TKO. I saw the official report called it TKO. And I'm like, technically it's a submission because she tapped out.
Due to punches. Yeah, submission due to punches. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, they even the announcers, like when they announced the result of the fight, Felipe and all that stuff was like TKO. And I'm like, no, it was actually submission, which is crazy. But, you talk about two women with not a lot of professional experience exchanging that title. And now you got to wonder, like Alba's talking about getting a rematch, but I don't think you do get a rematch if you get tapped out to strikes, whether it was because you thought your eye was falling out or not. Like, do you get an immediate rematch? No, I think you have to win a couple fights to get another shot, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay.
It's not a super deep division, but
I think the fight was interesting in the sense that, you know, there was a striking game that one was winning, you know, overwhelmingly, and then it went to the ground so fast that it was just a quick submission. It was a comeback from behind win. So I think I would want to watch that fight again. I think it would be an interesting fight to watch. I think an adjustment from the former champ. But both of these girls are very young, right? I think Elia Rodriguez is now 2-2 as the champ. And even though she's got a ton of experience, you know, outside of that, but also
same with Alba. Alba's 30 years old, but she's 2-1 now, and she has a ton of Muay Thai experience. I don't think the rematch lasts that long, though, for real, because now Ellie knows she can go to the ground with her.
That's true. That's very true, man.
Ellie knows that Alba has no ground game.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you get her on the ground by any means necessary, the fight's over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how quick it was, man. So like I said, I would love to watch the rematch. I think it would be interesting, and those kind of thing, the typical striker versus grappler, right? But now there's like this big, you know, hole that's been exposed, so you know, I said I would like it. There's a ton of other what's it called, flyweights out there for this fight to happen. So you know, both these girls are very young. They're very young.
Honestly, still. I know Vazquez lost to Alba so Alba could get to the inaugural title. Mm-hmm. But I would love to see Vazquez go with Ellie, because I think it'd be a better matchup with all around. And the last time Ellie fought her, it was a split decision win for Ellie. So Vazquez got some revenge to come. It wasn't like a knockout or anything. It was a split decision back at LUX Fight League 17. So I think that would be a much better fight than seeing her and Alba go back, because Alba is a striker and Alba is a dynamic striker. But if you get her to the ground, she just proved that she might be a little bit more one-dimensional than we thought she was.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. So it'd be a lot of interesting stuff and that movement there on the in the flyweight title contention there for that. And again, Ellie, I think just had, not Ellie, but Alba just had like a switch, kind of just a moment of just a lapse of misjudgment, and she paid the price. She paid the price for it, and I think it would be an interesting fight to have that again.
I mean, we'll see. Like I said, there's some contenders, but it's not a super deep flyweight division. It's still brand new. They just pulled out the title a couple fights ago. So, you know, we'll see how they continue to build that up. They've done a great job of building up the strawweight division. We have a new interim title in the strawweight division. Almost another upset. Andrea Vazquez took out Shaka Romo. And quite honestly, the longer that fight went on, the worse it was for Romo.
Agreed.
Because Vazquez had more energy. She had more aggression. You could see that Romo was kind of dictating the pace a little bit, but then Vazquez would get like backed into a corner and then come out firing. And then all of a sudden, you know, she got that guillotine in deep and there was just nowhere to go. What'd you think of that fight?
I thought it was great, man. I thought, again, I think we lost this one too. I think Andrea Vazquez comes and proves us wrong.
Good thing we don't keep records like we do in Art of MMA.
Yeah. So she's, you know, she showed her strength, man. I thought she did fantastic. I think she's an up and coming champion here. With she looked great, man. She played the game perfect. She played perfect striking game. She was very accurate in her strikes.
Very clean and crisp. Very clean.
Also very her setup for the guillotine choke, man. She was working it throughout the fight, you know. And you can just tell she's got really good confidence in her ground game. She's a tough cookie, man. I'd look out for her, man. I think she's gonna be champ for a little while.
Yeah, well, so that sets up now this, because we saw Soraya Roscoe in the cage afterwards. She took, you know, she was back from her event. She, you know, sitting out ringside with Alan Dominguez, or of course her boyfriend. It was funny, they showed a picture of them together, and Alan's got his arm around, but he's got his arm on the title.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
that's cool.
It's like, she's got something you don't, bro. But, you know, and then of course they actually did a very respectful face off. The kind of thing I keep noticing though is Vazquez is very small for that division. Like, she's dynamite. Like, she's a small package of dynamite in that division. And I don't know how Orozco and her will match up any differently. But that said, I'm excited to see that fight.
Man, it's gonna be tough, dude. So Sarai Orozco, if you saw her, when she came in and came in with her belt and everything, she's a big girl, dude. She's much bigger than.
That's what I was just saying.
Vazquez.
Like Vazquez is small. She's like dynamite. She's so much smaller than all these other girls. And how is this going to be a different matchup than Roma was?
Well, it's all about how she put things together in this fight really well against Choco Romo. She put the striking game really well. She countered very well. She had really good counter combinations. And then she had great takedowns too. So she was able to dominate on the ground. I think if she applies the exact same kind of fight game into that fight against Sarai Orozco, she might be able to pull something off here.
It'll be interesting. I think the best thing in the world was that Romo lost, because Romo had already lost to Orozco twice. So now we get a fresh matchup. Yeah. Which is great for MMA. It's great for LUX Fight League. So now they got somebody new to promote. And like I said, Vazquez is just fun. She's fun. Yeah. She's accurate. She's exciting. She's aggressive. Everything you want to see in a fighter. So let's see how this one plays out. Also in the card, we saw the return of Diego Lopes. A little bit of an early stoppage, but at the same time, there wasn't much that Rodriguez was going to do. He was getting dominated. Did you think that was slightly early stoppage as well?
I think it was. He
wasn't going anywhere.
No, he wasn't going to go anywhere. And not only that, it was a solid punch, dude. Boom. That Diego Lopes connected on him, flattened him out, and then went to go, do the hammer fist problems and stuff. And it was going to be problematic for Rodriguez. One of the things, though, that I really liked about Rodriguez is, man, he was hard to hold down. Like, Diego Lopes is a high-quality MMA Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he was having trouble holding on to Rodriguez and keeping him down on the ground, dude.
Rodriguez was a wild dude. He's kind of Clay Guida like, right? Like, he was just wild. Yeah. Just whatever happens. Let's go.
Yeah, and he was moving around.
You said last week he was dangerous.
He's dangerous. He was still dangerous, man. So I thought, he had his opportunities there. Diego Lopes was stunned a little bit with how slippery he was on the ground. But he didn't care, man. And then afterwards, he comes and talks to us and says, "You guys wanted a knockout. There's your knockout." And so yeah, I thought the fight. The call from the ref might have been a little bit earlier, but it's better to be the asshole than to be the guy who lets him go and the guy gets injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's clearly Rodriguez was in there for a bloodbath. He was in there but there's levels to this. Diego was sharp. Diego was all business, and also, I'm kind of happy Diego got it out quickly, because Pasha Rodriguez might have the worst tattoo I've ever seen in my life.
Which one's that?
The one across his chest with all the different like faces and like clown and all kinds of weird like. It was just weird, and I was just like, "What am I looking at?" And then Diego saved us from having to look at that much more. But a nice return for Diego. It was what it was. He came in, got the job done. Areola and Alvarez, what a crazy matchup that was. I even saw you reshare one of the highlights from that one with the knockout. Alvarez going backwards in the third round and landed that counter check left hook that just led to a fury of him just unloading. He just threw until one of those connected and dropped Areola. For the 2.5 rounds we saw, that was a fun fight. What you think of that one?
It was fun, man, and it's crazy because Areola is the crowd favorite, and everybody loves him. He's got like a huge following on social media. The guy's super cool. He's 43 years old. El Loco, yeah. He's 43 years old, getting in there, and I could actually see it in his head when he decided to go, "Fuck this! I'm just gonna go as hard as I can, and I'm gonna try to knock this guy out. Or if I don't knock him out, he's gonna have to knock me out." And he did. He digs his heels in. Combination, and the other guy, Alvarez was like, "All right, let's do this." Stands in the pocket, and then he connects successfully, and Areola lands on his face, out cold. It was fun. It was crazy. It was fun fight to watch. Like you said, always a fun fight, and we said it was going to be a fun fight to watch, and Areola pulls it off, man.
They slowed down a little bit in the second round, and that was about it. And then, like you said, Alvarez took that one step back, hit that check left hook, and then once he saw he was rocked, then Alvarez turned around and just let go of punch. And one of them caught him on the chin, and that was it. Great fight. But the fight of the night might have had to have been Luis Ivan Rodriguez, El Niño Azteca, against the show kid, Emilio Cuellar. one, I don't know how the fight wasn't stopped early. Two, the fact that Cuellar never quit. 3 rounds, just kept coming back, despite being like I said, levels to this. Clearly, Rodriguez was way higher skilled. But one thing that I did, it wasn't questioned who was going to win this fight, right? It was 30-27. You knew who was going to win this fight. But have you ever seen a ref stop the fight and clean up a cut in the fight?
A ref cleaning up the
I'm sorry, the doctor cleaning up the cut. Like, they stopped it so the doctor could look at it.
Oh, yeah.
But in the first time they did it was in the second round with 16 seconds left in the round. And they he stopped it and they cleaned up the cut like a cut man would. And let him keep
I would see that. I've seen that before. I've seen it when they clean it because they have to see the wound. They have to inspect the wound.
But then they did it again in the third round.
Yeah, well, they're inspecting the wound.
If you stop the fight a second time, don't you have to stop the fight?
Not necessarily.
Because you're giving him time to recover.
Well, the ref is calling the action here, right? So the ref is seeing something that's, hey, ref, this is pretty bad. You want to take a look? Hey, doc, this is pretty bad. You want to take a look at this? Stop, time. Okay, doc, what do you think? Should I allow this fight to continue? The doctor, I don't think I've ever seen that doctor, by the way, ever call a fight, man. I've seen some skull exposure, and the doctor's like, if they die, they die.
In fairness, look, Cuellar wasn't stopping. He was going to keep coming. His eye was shut within the first minute of the fight. Rodriguez caught him flush in the eye, and his eye was swelled shut like in the first minute. And all the stuff, like I'm saying, if you let it go in the second round, you look at him and it's the same cut. It's not a new cut. Why are you stopping it again in the third round? You either stop the fight or let it finish, because each time you do that, you're giving him a chance to recover for another minute when Rodriguez is trying to get his finish.
Yeah.
And then I think Rodriguez felt bad after the second one and stopped throwing punches. And then Cuellar kind of rallied a little bit, and Rodriguez is like, come on. And
it was fire,
mano.
Fireworks. Dude, that fight was so much fun. It was probably one of the best fights I've seen in a year, in the entire year. I think it's the fight of the year for LUX Fight League. And that kid,
one of them.
And that kid Rodriguez, man, Niño Azteca, has moved up, man. I've seen that guy fight 4 times already. I've seen that guy already perform, and he squashes everybody. He beats everybody. But I never thought of him as being like one of the elites in the flyweight division. After this performance and the way he was acting in there, man, I could see that level change, man. He grew since his last
performance. Does Costa have a new opponent?
What's that?
Does Costa have a new opponent?
Maybe. I think it might be a little
through like Kiki or somebody first.
Yeah, I would like to see Calvo. Him against Calvo would be good, or him against Kike would be good.
But he's up there, the gatekeepers a little bit.
Yeah. Because the kid's 5-0 now. Not a huge wealth of experience. But the kid, when it comes to mixed martial arts, the fucking kid is tough. He's terrible in there, man. That guy is evil. Instinct, has really good spatial awareness. Knows
you mean terrible in a good way.
He's just an evil kid inside the cage, man. He's got the killer instinct. I love watching him fight, and I can't wait to see him fight again.
You said Calvo. I think that's a really interesting matchup because we haven't really seen him against a grappler, and that would be a test because Costa can take him down with the jiu-jitsu. So, yeah, if he can go skip through somebody like Calvo or even somebody like Kiki that took Costa to the test. He still got finished, but he took Costa to the test. That would be a couple of good fights to set up going into a title fight. And then also there's 2 other fights that were on this main card before we kind of skim through the rest of it.
Sure.
One, Irvin. I'm gonna skip order for a second for a reason. One, sure. Irvin Amaya looked fantastic.
Yeah,
he bounced back from that loss to Kevin Garcia like it never happened. He looked absolutely fantastic. He controlled Nava from start to finish, an easy 30-27, not even a challenge.
Yep.
Maybe one of his best performances to date. And then on the other side, your favorite fighter, Kevin Garcia. I'm going to say it this time.
Okay.
That fight was boring as shit. Nieves didn't do anything to win that fight, first off. I think he won the first. I think Garcia won the second and third. I think it was a bad decision to give Nieves the fight because Garcia was a little bit more leveled up than Nieves. But at the same time, Garcia didn't realize he could strike with him to the third round. The second round, he just laid on him the whole round, didn't try to advance, didn't try to submit him, didn't try to do anything. God, is Kevin Garcia a boring fighter?
I don't know, man. I think
he's talented, but is he boring?
Honestly, I don't even remember that fight too much. So
how can you not remember the guy with the purple hair versus the guy that you think is boring?
Well, first of all, don't put words in my mouth. I said that the fight was boring. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I couldn't go back to that fight right now in my head. I'm like trying to think, like, what happened that was so spectacular in that one?
Look, the first round, Nieves got a little bit better with the striking. Second round, Garcia laid on him for 4 minutes. And then the third round, they went back and forth with striking, and Garcia was actually getting the better of it. So I don't know how the judges gave Nieves that round. The third round is probably the most exciting out of the 3.
Yep. Shit, man. Honestly, that is what it is. What you just said. So
Alex says he can't even remember that fight. That tells you that fight was boring as shit. And I'm going to be the one to tell you, I love you, Kevin. I've been supporting you every fight.
Yeah.
This fight was boring, bro. And you have all the skills in the world. You are look, Kevin Garcia might unfollow us for this. He is the king of the almost fighter because he is almost good enough in every aspect of the fight. Like on the ground, and I was taking notes while he was doing this. His leg positioning when he was trying to advance was horrible. Like if he had a little bit better positioning on how to pass guard, fight would have been over. If he had flattened him out when he had the hooks in, fight would have been over. There were so many things. He was like just this close and everything. Even his strikes missed Nieves' face by like that much. It was like the headline for that fight should be the almost fight.
Yeah.
Because that's how close he was all fight. And the dude has so much skill, but sometimes he doesn't execute. And it's just like, how can you be a contender if you come up short when everything's on the line?
Yeah.
Because if he had won this fight, he might have been in a title fight next. Because he's been headlining cards.
He's been doing good, man. Yeah. Like I said, but before that fight or right after that, there was a flyweight bout with Titi Villarreal versus
the Challenger Series.
Bravo. Yeah. Now I know you say you didn't watch that one, but Bravo just
I saw Bravo get the KO in the first round.
Knockout. It was a knockout in against Villarreal. And with
I will say, LUX does that one good thing. LUX will put those highlights on their social media. They will not let you miss those knockouts. Dude, everybody saw that.
The flyweights, man, and he's a flyweight, dude. How many knockouts do you see in flyweight division, dude? Not very much, man. And this guy laid him out, dude. And that was really cool. So keep an eye on Bravo, man. El Jaguar, he's got some talent, man. He's moved up to 3-0 now, undefeated. Like all kinds of like good stuff coming in for that guy, man. And so we just putting it together, man. That was a great fight card. And I'm looking forward to the next one, which has, Marco Beltran against Rhoda. Against we got also El Dragon or El Draco Cosillos fighting in the main card, defending his title. Dude, I'm really pumped up on how we can finish this here.
Since you brought that up real quick, let me read off the results of the last 4 fights just so people know.
Go for it.
We did have Kevin Moraes got the win over Diego Lopes via decision. We talked about Uribe. One of those fighters is kind of like up and down. We had needed a win. We got the win against Silveira via decision. The ladies, Padilla got the rear naked choke against Alacron in the first round as well. And then Juan Carlos Navarro got the win over Tiburon Garza via decision to open up the night. So, yeah, it was a fantastic night of fights. We will talk about the December 9th card. Hold a lot of your thoughts. We'll talk about that on December 1st because we got 2 title fights. We got Sergio Cosillo versus Draco Cosillo against Rora. We also got Marco Beltran in action. So 2 title fights, a lot of excitement. That's coming on December 9th. So we'll talk about that on the December 1st episode. Hopefully Alex won't make me do as much editing to that show as I have to do to this show. But that said, LUX Fight League was awesome. LUX Fight League 28 was awesome. Great night. And if anybody else like me is looking for a way to avoid paying for Fight Pass, it is on Fox Deportes for free.
Interesting.
So if you have Fox Sports, you have Fox Deportes. It's free. My shit, I had to look for it. It was all the way up in the upper channels, like 192 or some weird channel like that. Okay. But I found it. And I was like, all right, cool. Because I was having a hard time, Alex, like finding, like, I don't have Showtime. So I have to usually find, after the prelims for Bellator, I have to find, like, the real fight card to watch because I don't bother Showtime because there's only one thing I want to watch on it every month, and that's Bellator. Other than that, like, Showtime hasn't had really good shows, in my opinion, for a while. And then Luke's Fight League, like, I do order Fight Pass from time to time, but I usually let it expire because I'm like, the only thing I'm really watching on there is a couple old fights. And then like Luke's Fight League, and sometimes some of the Titan stuff I'll watch on there as well. Yeah. By the way, you and Shorty go toe to toe every week because they have you on there, and they also have Titan FC at the same time. So you and Shorty are toe to toe doing announcing at the same time. I'm like, who do I support? The guy bringing me money, or the guy that makes me do technical difficulties? Like, who do I support? That guy. But that said, ladies and gentlemen, have a happy Thanksgiving. Me and Alex will be back next week to talk about on the 1st, December 1st, to talk about Luke's Fight League 29. We will preview that epic card, how they're finishing out the year. Multiple title fights on that one, just like this one. So something you can't miss. Alex, any final words before we get out of here?
No, stay tuned for the next one, man. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, bro. Well, you have a happy Thanksgiving as well. I'll talk to you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Extremo Alex Soto. I'm Mike Ginn. This is Crossing Borders. We're out.